Oh, kia ora and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday webinar this week. This is a FLINT webinar with our colleagues from our Future Leaders program. And the topic this week is the death of the linear career, navigating the new professional landscape. And I'm here because I'm bringing the really old white guy who's had a career and can answer those, was it really like this? Back in the, well, I won't say 70s because I was in school, but the 90s and the 2000s. And to say, in case there's questions around, was it really that much different back in those days? And yes, there are differences, but there are similarities. I'm joined today by two amazing wahine. Elizabeth Taylor, or Zibby as she's well known, is the FLINT lead for New Zealand for our program. She's based in Wellington, and she'll introduce herself properly in a moment. And then Nadine Young, who is no relative as far as we know, will also speak. So what we'll do to start with, we'll start introducing ourselves. As you don't know me, I'm Craig Young. I am the CEO of the Technology Users Association, of which FLINT is one of our key programs for our future leaders, and which brand we're doing this under today. Zibby, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks so much, Craig. Yeah, I'm Zibby. I've been involved in FLINT now for, gosh, it must be 7 or 8 years. And as Craig mentioned, supporting all of our chairs across the Motu on delivering an amazing events programme for all of our members. And then my day job, I'm a senior manager at Randstad, which I've worked at Randstad for 9 years. So I was briefly saying to Craig and Nadine, I've actually had quite a linear career path myself, but there's definitely been twists and turns along the way. And yeah, hopefully I can shed some insight on what does the future look like, as we've sort of discussed previously, is that linear career path is definitely changing, and there's lots of people that are not just sticking in the one job and throughout their whole lives as there had been in the past. But yeah, really excited to be with you today, and yeah, I'll pass over to you, Nadine.
Kia ora, I'm Nadine. I'm the one that's coming with a career path that's very different. So I decided to do a career change at 40 into tech. So my day job, I'm a functional consultant / business analyst for a Microsoft partner company. And then I also have got contracting work doing IT project management roles. I've also been part of FLINT. So I was part of FLINT last year for the Auckland team. So I've been involved in that. And a lot of what I'm going to go through on my slides is what I've done to kind of do that career shift in my 40s. So it's not like it was in a young age and how I did that. So when it comes to my point, I'll probably explain a little bit more about how I did that career change.
Awesome. So today, really, we're going to talk about this idea of careers not being the traditional ladder and being replaced by a lot more of a lattice type approach, which we'll come back to. But thinking about the ladder, I thought I'd just share, my father, who is sadly no longer here, he worked for one company for nearly 30 years, I think, before he moved to a second organisation. The only reason he went to the second organisation is because of something happened with the first one. But if you think about, he would have stayed at his one organisation all the way through, moving up the line, perhaps, but that's the way they saw careers. And even at Chorus, when I was at Chorus, now this is 15 years ago, we still had people who had been with the organisation through its various paths, back to New Zealand Post for 50 years or more, and had never thought about leaving. In fact, had a real sense of ownership of the organisation. And it really isn't the sort of case that we're seeing these days. While I remember, as we go into today's session, please do put any questions in the Q&A function, because we're really happy to look at that, or even just type in the chat. I'll keep an eye on both of those as I moderate and facilitate today. And the one thing I need to remind you is the event code of conduct does apply to this webinar. We have introduced each other, so Dean, myself, and Zibby, and so we're going to get Zibby to start. She's going to do a little presentation for us on some of the stuff that she's been seeing in her role. So Zibby Taylor, Senior Manager at Randstad, go for it.
Thanks so much, Craig. Yes, so as Craig mentioned before, and myself, I'm a senior manager at Randstad, and alongside the day-to-day recruitment, we really pride ourselves on being able to get hold of some good data. And we release this report every year called the Work Monitor, and it's been being conducted for a number of years throughout the world. So it does give us a real good sense check on how employees are feeling and what the latest trends are. And this year's report, I guess, really coincides with what we're talking about, how that there's no longer a linear career path, and much like Craig was saying there, that people do have twists and changes as well. So I thought I'd take you through what this Work Monitor report actually delves into, and then give you a wee bit of a New Zealand snapshot that I hope will support all of our members in thinking about, if you are wanting to make that move, now might be a good time to do so. So Craig, if you just flick to the next slide for me. Awesome. So yeah, just a wee bit of an overview on this report. So we've been doing it for 23 years, and it does take in the majority of the markets across the globe. And what it actually does, it really looks at what talent, so when we say talent, we mean you, the people that are looking for work, what their attitudes, ambitions and expectations are, as I guess we're in a bit of a transformation and a bit of a change in the world as tech develops, and what careers actually look like. So that gives you a wee bit of an overview of what this report's all about. In terms of the key themes this year of what we're seeing is that there are three main forces that are changing the world of work now, and that comes down to the developments in AI that I'm sure we're all familiar with, team dynamics, but then also what individuals are really looking at and deeming as success to themselves. So it's no longer just picking a job when you're 18 and then doing that until you retire. People are actually thinking about doing other things, pivoting into a different career, or starting side hustles that I'll talk about in a wee second as well. So it's definitely changing, and with that change comes an expectation on the employers to actually change as well. So if you flick to the next slide for me. I guess the overall report, and I can share the in-depth one with anyone that would like to see it, but we asked the specific question around that traditional career ladder, and of that, the employers actually agreed that that traditional career ladder is outdated. So 72% of them said that it was outdated. Talent, only 41% of those that we surveyed said that they still want that linear career path. So I guess important to note is that some people do still want that sort of one job that they'll have and sort of develop and grow throughout their lives. But a lot of other people are wanting to shift and explore different sectors. Because I'm sure Craig and Nadine will agree here. What we've seen as jobs 25 years ago are certainly changed now, so we've got to grow and develop with that as well. Future proofing, so a big trend that we're seeing, and what this survey also showed us was that people are starting to have portfolio careers. So they're not just having that one stock standard skill set, they're actually looking at adding to that toolkit throughout their career so that they can pivot and move into something new. And then side hustles. We've done events on side hustles in the past, actually, through FLINT, and they've been really popular. I can even know from myself, I've got friends that, delve into different things other than what their day job is. They've got things happening in the background, but a huge 40% of those that we surveyed in this had actually taken second jobs for, I guess, income security, but also just to diversify their day-to-day too. So if we jump to the next slide for me, this one here really just delves into what that sort of traditional working life looks like now. I guess no longer are people wanting the 9 to 5. People actually look at different ways to make up their working life. So it may be that you've got a full-time role, but but then you complement that with a side hustle, and then, or else it might be that you have a part-time role and you also complement that with a side hustle. But I guess the main message in here is it's no longer your 9 to 5, it's actually looking beyond that. People look for flexibility. People are looking for employers that, you know, aren't rigid in when you work and how you work. It's actually, you know, so that you can fit in different things as well. That's the, I guess, the key theme as well, is that people are really looking for that sense of autonomy when they have their jobs too. We jump to the next wee slide for me, and I thought it was quite interesting here to note, like, why is it that, what are people looking for when it comes to an employer? So our main trends are people want that work-life balance, and that probably fits in quite nicely with the fact that people want to pursue other things within their life. It's not just about their job, because they might have that side hustle or that secondary income that they're trying to delve into. But they'll also leave if they're not being recognised from a REM perspective. So they're the big sort of things that actually make people stay or leave. But when we did this survey, we do ask questions around, you know, is your job actually giving you the flexibility that you need? And what it found is that there's been a decrease in the flexibility offered to those surveyed year on year. So it just gives you a bit more of a sense check that maybe the employers aren't quite keeping up with where individuals are actually looking for that flexibility as well. And then, yeah, if we just wrap it up, before I hand over to Nadine, who's going to go into her own story and how she has pivoted, I thought it would be good to kind of give you a bit of a market snapshot in New Zealand. Over the past couple of years, it's been a bit doom and gloom out there, and I definitely can resonate with it's been a challenge for a lot of people. But I guess we're probably looking a bit brighter than it has been. So employment confidence is definitely the strongest since 2024. So there's been that Westpac McDermott Miller report released, which signalling that, you know, households are feeling a little bit more secure. So will hopefully result in more opportunities. Business hiring intentions have also turned positive, and the SEEK reports show that there's been an increase in adverts posted as well, so up 12.2%. So it's not huge increase and huge growth, but it's slow and steady, which is a good place to be. As we've seen over the last couple of years, it has been challenging. But how does this play into, you know, if you are looking at pivoting your career, is that now might be the time to really start leaning into, you know, diversifying your skill set, looking into other opportunities for you, because, you know, there's more things out there. We also seen a large, you know, key skills leave across the past couple of years. So definitely looking into how you could potentially leverage your own skills to take up some of those roles that are challenging to hire. And then, as I mentioned before, we're really seeing that rise in sort of gig economy or side hustles. So no longer do people just have that one job. They might have a couple of different things that they've got going on as well. So I thought I'd just share that before we can kind of go into someone who's actually made the changes and maybe, you know, use the opportunities that have become available to them to make that switch. So yeah, hopefully that was insightful, and I'll gladly hand over to Nadine.
Kia ora, for the ones that have joined on a little bit late. I'm Nadine, and I also I agree with everything that you've said. I also have side hustles, so I can explain a lot of what I'm doing with the side hustles. So we'll go to the next slide. So this is my story. So I actually left high school, so I never graduated from high school. I didn't really have a roadmap, and I didn't have things figured out, to be honest. But then I just kind of fell into leadership. So I've spent the last 20 years across different industries, managing different teams in hospitality, retail, customer service. So great problem solving skills and getting results. In my 20s, I did my MBA. In my 30s, I did my MBA, working full-time, studying at the same time. But it wasn't easy, but I got it done. And the reason behind it is I was in middle management and really wanted to get up to that executive level. So because I was a school dropout, I needed to get a degree behind me to be able to get into that executive level. So that's why I jumped straight into an MBA. not knowing what it was, but it was great experience. So learned how to run a business on a more strategic level, and stepping into that more strategic space. And it wasn't easy. So worked full time, was a mum. So my son was younger back then, so was under 10, trying to juggle that as well. But it was beneficial for my career. So then once I turned 40, I really made the decision to pivot. I wasn't enjoying my leadership roles, and I had got to a point where I couldn't move in my career. I was always going to be a really good customer service experience manager, but I was never going to go to anything else. So I was very lucky that during my last role as an executive leader and a customer experience manager, I was part of a team that implemented a new ERP system into a manufacturing company. So worked with a team from Brazil and Colombia that taught me a lot about Microsoft Dynamics finance and operations. So during that year working with them, they were really the motivating force behind me to change, because they were telling me, you should change. You're really good at working with the business, so you understand the business needs and wants. But not only that, you're really good at communicating with developers. So you're that really good person in between that can deal with both sides of the parties to be able to work in a tech space. To be honest, at the time, I probably gave them a lot of eye rolls, and when you don't pivot your career at 40, you would generally just stand still and continue on the way that you were going. But it wasn't until I actually finished that project that I decided to set a 6-month goal for myself to transition my career, because I went back to my normal job, wasn't happy, and went, the only way I can change this is changing myself. So I made a very ambitious 6-month goal to get myself in transition into a tech job purely, which I did. So during my time with transitioning, I've been able to work on ERP systems, CRM systems, AI, and I've also completing my Masters of Technological Futures part-time. And also I've managed to get side hustles where I can also grow my experience in the tech space as an IT project manager. So what I'm saying to people is it's never too late. Like, you can always do it. You've always got the time. You don't need a perfect background. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to wait until life slows down. You just need to start and keep going, and you can do it. So if I can do it, you guys can do it. So I'm saying for me, the biggest thing I say to people is goal setting. If you want to do it and you've got that mindset and you want to get it done, I had a very clear mindset that I was going to get certified. I reinvented myself. I did everything. So goals are very important if you want to do it and do it very quickly. But we'll move on to the next slide. So this is where I get into a lot more of what I did in that 6 months. So one is LinkedIn. I think people underestimate the power of LinkedIn. I reinvented my LinkedIn. So rather than having my LinkedIn structured the way of the roles I could do, I had really pivoted and changed it for the tech roles that I wanted to do. So I was highlighting any tech experience I had and making them my skills rather than my managerial experience. So I really reinvented myself on my LinkedIn profile. So you've got to make sure your headline is up to date. Your about section is your story. So it's not a CV. Like, try and make it engaging that people actually want to read it and then go, okay, I want this person to come work with us. Show your pivot and show your strengths. So the biggest thing is recruiters are generally going to LinkedIn rather than Seek and other methods, because if they put an ad on Seek, they're getting inundated with candidates. So they're actually looking for people on LinkedIn to find and narrow that search. So once I did those changes, I actually had recruiters reach out to me. So I went from applying on Seek to then building relationships with recruiters to then help do that. So one thing I'd be saying to people is, are you visible on LinkedIn? And it doesn't mean you need to be posting. It just means you've got the headline, you've got your about section, your experience is up to date. You've also got all the skills. So you're always linking all your skills that are available, because then it'll also help for that narrow down. You can do some content and visibility as well, but along with that, make sure you're connecting with people as well. So if you're posting and sharing learnings. The only way you're really going to get noticed is if you've got 30 connections. You're not really going to grow and get those connections. So I also set a goal after I got into tech to increase my connection number, and did that by posting and saying my learnings more around my degree and my master's. So it also helped to get me visible from that perspective of what I'm doing in my master's. Also, make sure you comment on people's posts if they're interesting. Even if it's not a comment, make sure you do like a thumbs up or a heart or whatever it is. But generally, if you comment on someone's post, they'll then start to connect with you as well. And then you're growing your connections. So I find consistency matters when it comes to it, and it's your journey and it's your value. So people trust what they see more than often. So my last one, where it really, really helped as well, is networking and recruiters. So that's where I came across FLINT and other events that were online. Anything I saw on LinkedIn, most of them are free, to be honest, to attend. Like, you're not actually having to spend money to attend them. It might be paying for public transport or just parking in town to attend the event. And even if there were events that I had to pay for, it was like normally $50 to attend or less. So I was like, for me, I thought it was a worthwhile investment, because I would turn up to a networking event, and prior to this, I would hate doing it. So I know people hate going to networking events, but I made a conscious effort to go and connect with one person. That's the only goal I had. And what I found is, by having that goal, I actually connected with more people. And from that, I'd talk to one person and they'd say, oh, you're looking for a job, or you're wanting to break into the sector. Have you spoke to so-and-so? So it was opening up more doors for me, having those conversations with people and what I was wanting to do and move forward with my career. So that's where I got a lot of my opportunities. My first role was for a recruiter, but then other roles since has actually been from networking and people I've connected with. And same with recruiters. I've actually pivoted away from trying to do the hard work myself to making sure I build relationships with recruiters. So it's either with recruiters in the sector or industry you're in, so making sure that they're more specialized. So obviously, if you're wanting to get into IT, that you're with the IT specialist, not someone that specializes in retail. So make sure you're connected with them. But it's about building a relationship both ways. So make sure you're connecting with recruiters where it feels right for you, and vice versa. Because sometimes you'll connect with a recruiter and it just doesn't feel like the right vibe. But when I connected with recruiters, I also made sure, did they understand what I wanted? Did they understand the roles I wanted to get to? Because I was always very clear I wanted to get back into leadership. So I was making sure that people were clear with the roles I was getting, that it was going to give career progression as well as just jumping into a role. And to be honest, the first 6 months, I probably had interviews every couple of weeks, because recruiters, because I was connected with a few, would always have roles. And it was a lot of no's, but I saw them as opportunities to then convert it into, what do I need to work on? What skills do I need to bring to the table to then get that yes? So they are really good, the recruiters. But again, it's making sure it's the right recruiter in the industry you want to get into or the sector you want to get into, but also building that relationship as well. And the other one I put on there is messaging people on LinkedIn. So as soon as you connect with someone and they're going to help you drive and get into that sector or industry or that company you want to work with, don't just send people a generic message. What I was doing is I would look at the person's profile, get a really clear indication of what they are or things that they've talked about in post. And then I would specialize the message to go back to that person and be like, okay, I see you've worked on this board. That's really fascinating. Could you tell me more? Could we meet up for a coffee or an online call? It just means because people are busy and they probably don't have time to message, but if you've gone out of your way to research that person and do a more dedicated message, they're more likely to reply than someone that's just sending a generic message. So these are definitely ways that you can create opportunities rather than the standard out of the box method. And I'm sure I've got one more slide. So you don't need to start over. You can build where you are. So I didn't start from scratch. I used what I already had. So I didn't have a tech background, but I had leadership skills, problem solving, and people skills. So it's really good to sit down and write those down, what you have. So I've just learned how to translate them into a new space. So 3 things that I say to people to try and work on to really enhance their career and get moving is update your LinkedIn headline, make it about where you're going if you're wanting to that career change. Message one person in your target space. It's no pressure, just start a conversation. And what's the worst that could happen? They could say yes and want to meet up with a coffee for you or online, and it can really pivot and change. And that's a real mind shift, because even I struggled with that in the beginning. I was like, oh, they're not going to message me. They're not going to come back to me. They're not going to. But honestly, I had more yeses than I had no by striking conversations with people. And then it built my confidence to keep going with it. And then it's writing down those 5 skills. So what do you do every day that you can apply into a new role that would help you to do that transition? So I look at it as that you're not behind, you're just building something new. So they are key things that I would say. And I was going to sell it, and Craig and Libby knew this. I'm also creating a transformation circle. I'm not happy with the platform. So what I'm trying to do is work on goal setting, personal branding, how you can get the best out of your LinkedIn, and networking and recruitment, and then how you can also use AI to enhance your career. So if you're interested, we have a community. It's not very big. We just have like a group chat on LinkedIn that we just pop in and kind of keep each other motivated. And then over the next month, I'm creating a better platform to make it more seamless for people to kind of create a community where people can learn and enhance their careers and help with the transformation. So connect with me on LinkedIn if you're interested, and I can bring you into the chat. And then once the new platform's in, would love to have more people as part of the community. But that's me.
Awesome. Oh, I loved hearing your story, Nadine. It's just, it's inspiring. And I was thinking of a few things when you were chatting there about that, like motivation. Like, how do you actually stay motivated when you are making a pivot? Because it sounds like it does take a lot.
To be honest, surround yourself by the right people. I know that sounds silly, but I probably stayed very comfortable for a very long time because I had people tell me I couldn't do things. So what I found during the transition is, like, I had to let people go, because if they weren't right for my career and where I was going, or couldn't see the vision, because people just, like, the worst was my family, because they're very traditional. You have the same role, you do it for years. So when I was saying I was going to transition, they were probably the worst critics in my life, but they knew I was determined, so knew I was going to do it. But it's really surround yourself around people that are going to grow you to grow into that space. And that's where I think networking really helped, because I just met so many amazing people that just helped me direct me into the right pathway, or the right people to really grow that for me. So I know it's tough, but if someone's negative and they're not giving you the right advice, it really stops your progress. But writing down goals and sticking to your goals, I know I never used to be a goal setter, but once I really stuck to it with my career change, it really enhanced my career, because I would look at them every day and just be like, this is where I want to get to in 6 months. I want to get into tech. This is what I need to do. If it means I have to spend weekends studying, I'm going to spend weekends studying. And I'm like, it's just 6 months to really change my career around.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I think, what the things that you've shared, and I'm sorry it's a little bit noisy, but I'll get up on that. The things you've shared, amazing, because there are so many opportunities for you to do these sort of things, LinkedIn platforms, etc. I mean, when I left university, you still applied for jobs that were advertised in the newspaper, and back a long way. My background, although it was a little bit easy for me because I trained as an accountant, so you could get a job with an accounting firm, but making a shift, you had to keep an eye out on the newspapers. And so what I'm saying is that people who are thinking of making those pivots, there are really great things that you can do to assist you. One of the things that, you did get asked about, you did talk about surrounding yourself with people. What other sort of, and I'll ask both of you this question, and then I'll come back with my answer. What's that sort of one skill or one skill set you need to carry through that keeps you moving, whether it's in the ladder or in the lattice way of doing your career?
I would say communication, especially now when we live in a world where AI is able to tell us, how to do things, or, how to execute things, but actually being able to go in, especially if you're changing career, and look at lots of different information and then bring everybody on the journey and articulate that in a way. You might not know the answer, but if you can get everybody on the same page, then that will be really helpful. So I think, communication is going to be key.
Yeah, I was saying, I think that's where I hold, because I've had like more customer service and sales background, which is heavily communication and transitioning into tech. So people that have had the out of the box tech career, there's probably not their strength. Their strength is probably not that communication skills. So that's where I find I've added biggest value, is can communicate with all types of people, all different stakeholders. And I definitely see it working with developers. Some developers have it and are really great, but there are some developers that are so shy, won't say anything, are really good developers, but they just won't really communicate with people on what they're doing. So I've been able to draw out that information with developers. So communication, if you've got it in a current career, then it's easy skill to just transition over. But it also helps to get into that space too, right? Like you can communicate really well with recruiters, and if you can do it with potential companies that you can work with, it's just building that the right communication and saying the right things to help you pivot into that career.
I want to follow on with your comments. In my experience, and I've been working a long time now, I've finally realized that it's about being confident in yourself. None of this macho white old guy, not that sort of confident, you just sort of blast your way through, but it's actually knowing who you are, what you can do, what you don't know, but being confident in sharing what you've got and what you can do and what you need to learn. I think that's really important, even at my age, I think. There's a question here from Craig about, and I think this is you, Nadine. At what point of your journey did your transition pathway, did you realise tech wasn't your aspiration career goal, but it was a pathway?
I think once I actually transitioned and sat in the role, no, I actually think it was before then. I think it was before I transitioned, because when I was working on the implementation of the ERP project, because I was managing team during the day, and then in the afternoon I was, at nighttime and weekends, because it was a second job, like I was doing 2 jobs at the time, I was seeing more value out of what I was doing for my side job with IT than I was for my day-to-day job. I don't know if it was because I was bored, because I'd been managing people for 20 years and it just came very easy. But I found more value out of the IT project because I could see my results. I could see I was delivering the project on time. I was moving the project on time. I could actually see individually what I was adding to this project. Even though I didn't have the tech understanding, I knew enough to be able to deliver and get things done on time. And it was rewarding for me. Whereas when you're managing a team, yes, it is. I still want to get into leadership. It's not a bad thing, but it was just, I had gone away from doing stuff individually to feeling more rewarded into doing my own individual work. So even for me at the moment, I'm enjoying not managing people because I can get better at tech, I can get stronger at tech. So when I do go back to leading teams, I have that better understanding. So I think it was when I was going through that stage of both, I could see what I was delivering and the value I was adding for businesses. So that's when I had the light bulb moment that I went, I need to pivot my career because I'm more fulfilled and happier in that space.
And And what it sounds like there, Nadine, and a few things that you mentioned throughout your presentation, is actually creating space for yourself to take stock of how you feel and what you're thinking at that moment in time, because we often get really busy in the day-to-day and coming to work and doing everything that sometimes we don't feel that we have the time to just take a step back and reflect on what is it that energizes you, or where is it that you can see that the skills that you already have can actually transfer into another sector, another industry. So yeah, that's kind of what I was taking from what you said. A lot of the time is you do need to prioritize that time for reflection and goal setting.
Yeah, I'm a big believer on it. So even currently in the tech sector, I'm going to make mistakes because I'm not from that background. So you've always got to walk away and look at what could you do better and learn from your lessons. So one, you don't want to make them again, but we're all not perfect, right? So I think it's better if you can do self-reflection, because I think you're going to resonate with it better than someone else telling you, right? So sometimes it doesn't get delivered right from someone else. So sometimes it's just better to do it yourself and be critical. And we probably are actually, like, we probably are harder on ourselves than other people are with us, because we aim for perfection. And you just can't get it all the time. And it's like, you know, I would rather talk to myself and pivot and change and look at things differently than going down the same path and I'm not getting anywhere or any further.
Yeah.
Awesome. Zibby, you know, we have this thought that recruitment agents are always looking at your CV to see that you're focused on a pathway, that you're following a ladder. But how will we hack our CV or LinkedIn to make sure, say, if we have a non-traditional background, that it's seen as an asset rather than a lack of focus?
Well, I think there's so many different things you can do, and I've run a wee workshop with FLINT members before on like the importance of tailoring your CV, even if you are going for a different role to what you do now, is making sure that you are actually aligning the skills that you've got to translate into the role that you're going for. Also, I think with like AI being used in applicant tracking systems, and you know, making sure that you're actually going to get a look in, is don't be afraid to you know, do a hybrid job title. So say you are like, I'm trying to think of an example that I could use, but an accountant, can you now say that you are an accountant but you're wanting to go into tech? So you could be an accountant and a data lead or a data analyst. So try and think of different words that your current role you could sway towards what you're shooting for. I also think just making sure that you are using those keywords. So I often tell people, get the job description of the job you're applying for. Look at all of the keywords that are in there, because you'll usually find that they're not super specific to that role. They will be quite general skills, and make sure that you're putting them throughout your CV, because these applicant tracking systems, if they're using AI, will literally just pull from those keywords as well. But yeah, I think it's just been really specific, really intentional. I think what Nadine has said about networking, so many jobs do not even get advertised. So if you can go and put yourself out there, do it. And another thing that I really wanted to say is, and off the back of what Nadine has said, is people love to talk about themselves. So if you can actually connect in with someone who has made a shift, or that's in the job that you want, listen to their story, because I get to listen to people's story every single day. And I'll tell you something, there's not one way fits all. So actually getting to hear like how I've listened to how Nadine's made that shift, go and listen to someone else and how they've done it, because you might just get an idea that will come to you to think, I could do that too. So just definitely put yourself out there and connect with as many people as possible.
Awesome. Well, it's been an amazing conversation, and so many good points, but I do have one final question I'll ask you both, which is the tomorrow takeaway. So for someone watching today or watching after this who feels a bit stuck in that linear path but's afraid of jumping or changing, what's the one small low risk micro pivot they can make this week to start building that career resilience? Go to you first, Nadine.
Can I have two things? Do I have to have one thing? I would see mine as set goals. Set goals. I think you need to have a clear intention. Like I could say, go update your LinkedIn, but if you don't know who you are and who you want to be, there's no point. So even if it's not goals, understanding, they call it personal branding. And even I've struggled with the personal branding perspective side of things. But if you can sit down and highlight who you are and where you want to be and how you're going to get there, that's what I'd be saying doing. Like the best way to do it is just do it for maybe half an hour, write down, like just dump it out. Like just even if it's just words on a bit of paper and you're just getting it down, and then don't take that as your final thing. Go back a couple of days later or the next day and then revisit it and still see if it kind of resonates and sits with you. So I think it's being clear with you who you want to be and how you're going to do it, because I think it leads with everything else we've said with the confidence. Because if you're going in and you haven't done this exercise, I think unfortunately that's where I think you're going to get pushed back, because you haven't quite thought through who you want to be and how you want to deliver. So it would be not necessarily goal setting, but really thinking about who you want to be. And if you've got some gaps in your skills, how you're going to get there, but what skills you can sell for yourself. So it's kind of mapping out who you are and who you want to be to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was going to go lean into that skills piece, is actually map out what you're good at, because what we can see is things can translate into many different roles. So actually taking stock and ask people around you. You know, I don't know if anyone else has ever done this, but you can sometimes get it through your organization, 360 feedback, where you actually ask other individuals about you and your skill set. If you've got the opportunity to do that, then ask them, because then maybe you'll start to paint that picture of, you know, what you can bring to the table. And then I think network and speak to people that are in the job that you want to have. And if you don't know what that job is, I recommend going to events and finding out what other people do, so that you can understand what careers are actually out there as well. And yeah, take it from a recruiter. I now see people change jobs so often. I don't think it's something that people look or frown upon. We're just, you know, evolving, and we have to evolve, because, you know, the jobs that were 20 years ago are definitely not going to be the jobs that will be in 20 years time. So yeah, that would be my closing remarks.
Yeah, it's got quite noisy here. Do you want to close the session up?
Yeah, sure. Awesome. Well, yeah, just a huge thank you, Nadine. It's been awesome to hear your story. I've really loved getting to connect in with you a few times over the past wee while, and just see that someone has actually made that transition and made that pivot is really inspirational. But yeah, to all of our members who have jumped on the call today, it's awesome to see you. We're going to be doing more of these webinars time and time again. Each of our groups across the country will take it on turns, and yeah, we've got FLINT events coming up all across, so jump on our LinkedIn page where you can find out what's happening in a town near you. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on and connect with us all on LinkedIn, and reach out if we can go into anything a wee bit further. But thank you.